I was 24 when my entire world came crashing down. It was a rainy Thursday evening in October in Boston, and I can still smell the wet autumn leaves mixed with the coffee brewing from the Dunkin' on the corner of our brownstone in Back Bay. My mother stood at the front door, her face flushed with rage, holding my old college duffel bag that she'd hastily stuffed with my belongings, some clothes still on hangers, wrinkled from being shoved inside. My father stood behind her in his Harvard Business School polo, staring at the hardwood floors of our foyer, unable to meet my eyes. "You're no longer welcome in this house," were her words. Sharp, final, no room for negotiation. The reason? I'd dropped out of my MBA program at Harvard, the one they'd mapped out for me since I was in high school. I'd decided to pursue my passion for cryptocurrency and Web3 development, something they viewed as internet gambling rather than a real career. In a family of investment bankers, corporate lawyers, and Fortune 500 executives stretching back generations in Massachusetts, my choice was seen as an unforgivable betrayal of everything they'd worked for. What hurt most that evening wasn't my mother's words or my father's cowardly silence. It was the laughter. My cousins, Brad and Tyler, were leaning against the iron gate, having come specifically to witness my humiliation. Brad, 4 years older than me, the golden boy working at Goldman Sachs in New York. Tyler, 2 years younger, following in his father's footsteps at McKinsey with a starting bonus already secured. They laughed as if they were watching a comedy show. "Look at Madison," Brad said loudly enough for all the neighbors to hear. "The genius who thought she knew better than everyone. She'll be back begging within a week." Tyler chimed in. "I give her 3 days before she's crawling back. Cryptocurrency? What a joke. Like anyone's going to get rich on fake internet money." I picked up the duffel bag with trembling hands. Not from fear, but from a rage I'd never felt before. I looked at each of them, burning their faces into my memory. My mother in her Nordstrom dress and pearls, my father in his weekend khakis and polo, Brad with his Patagonia vest over his button-down like a Wall Street uniform, Tyler in his cheap Men's Warehouse suit trying to look the part of a consultant. "I'll make it," I said with the steadiest voice I could muster. "And you'll regret this." Brad's laughter grew louder. "Make it at what? Become another failed millennial with a MacBook? Look, cousin, take some advice. Come back, apologize properly, and maybe Aunt Catherine will take you back." I turned my back and started walking. The drizzle had started again, and the puddles reflected my inner state. Murky, chaotic, uncertain. I had nowhere to go. My bank account held $1,147. My phone had perhaps another week of service, and I'd just been kicked out of the only home I'd ever known. The first night was the worst. I slept at South Station, pretending to wait for a delayed Amtrak to New York. The duffel bag served as a pillow, and I clutched my laptop bag, terrified someone would steal it. A security guard woke me at 5 a.m., telling me to move along. I bought a breakfast sandwich and coffee from the cheapest place I could find. It cost $12. I did the math. I had enough money to survive perhaps 2 weeks if I was extremely careful. That's when I remembered Ashley, a girl from my undergrad at Boston University. We weren't close friends, but she'd always been kind to me. I used my last few minutes of phone data to text her. "Madison? Oh my God, it's been forever. How are you?" "Ashley, My voice cracked. "I need help." I didn't need to say more. Within an hour, she was picking me up from South Station in her beat-up Honda Civic. She lived in a tiny apartment in Allston with 3 other roommates. The couch in the living room became my bed for the next 5 months. "Don't worry about it," Ashley said that first night, handing me a blanket. "Everyone goes through rough patches. The important thing is not giving up, you know?" I cried for the first time since leaving home, not from sadness, but from gratitude. The next day, I started looking for work. Anything would do. I handed out resumes at every store in the Prudential Center in Copley Place, applied for barista positions, receptionist jobs, retail. Nothing. My lack of experience was an insurmountable barrier. It was on a Tuesday afternoon in January, after yet another rejection, when I saw a flyer taped to a pole. Free coding boot camp for underserved youth, stipend included. It was run by a nonprofit that taught tech skills to unemployed young adults. I didn't exactly fit their typical demographic, but my current situation certainly qualified me. The selection process was brutal. 800 applicants for 40 spots. I spent 6 nights without sleep, learning basic coding from YouTube videos on Ashley's laptop. On the test day, my hands shook so badly I could barely type. But I got in. 37th place. But I got in. The boot camp lasted 6 months. The stipend was $800 a month, enough to contribute to Ashley's rent and still save a little. I woke up at 4:30 a.m., took 2 trains and a bus to get to the course location at the Boston Seaport by 7 a.m. I stayed until 10 p.m. studying at the Boston Public Library using their free Wi-Fi to practice. My course mates came from backgrounds even tougher than mine. Marcus from Roxbury, living in public housing. Shaniqua, a single mom of 2 from Dorchester. Jose, who'd just gotten out of Suffolk County Jail. With them, I learned that my pain wasn't unique, but it also wasn't an excuse to give up. 4 months into the course, during a session on blockchain development, I created a simple DeFi platform for small businesses to manage their crypto payments and invoicing. It was basic, but it worked. The instructor, Mr. Chen, a 50-something guy who'd worked at MIT before teaching, pulled me aside after class. "Madison, this has real commercial potential. Have you thought about turning it into a business?" I laughed. "Mr. Chen, I'm sleeping on a borrowed couch. How am I going to start a business?" Every great business started somewhere unlikely. Apple started in a garage. Yours might start on a couch in Alston. He introduced me to a startup accelerator program at the Cambridge Innovation Center that offered mentorship and seed funding. The competition was fierce, but I had nothing to lose. I spent 3 weeks preparing my pitch. Ashley and her roommates were my guinea pigs, listening to my presentation dozens of times until I could explain my idea in under 3 minutes. The day of the pitch arrived. I was wearing the only business clothes I had, a blazer from Target and slacks Ashley had lent me. In the room, investors in suits that cost more than everything I'd ever owned. My turn came. I'm Madison, and I solve the problem that 76% of small American businesses face, accepting and managing cryptocurrency payments in an increasingly digital economy. 20 minutes later, I'd done it. Not first place, but a special mention that came with $25,000 in seed funding and 3 months of mentorship. It was more money than I'd ever seen at once. With the money, I rented a tiny room in a house share in Somerville and bought a refurbished ThinkPad. I worked 18 hours a day developing the platform. The first client was Tony, who ran a small pizza shop in the North End. He used the system free for a month in exchange for feedback. "This is incredible," he said after 2 weeks. "All my crypto payments organized, and I can track everything on my phone." Tony spread the word among other business owners. Within 3 months, I had 40 businesses using the system. I charged $50 per month each. Not much, but it was a start. That's when I met David, an experienced developer who'd been laid off from a fintech startup. He saw potential in the product and proposed a partnership. I gave him 30% equity in exchange for his expertise and work. "Madison, this could be huge," he said after reviewing the code. "But we need serious investment." We started approaching investors. 72 rejections. 72 times hearing we were too inexperienced. The market was too volatile. We had no competitive advantage. But on the 73rd attempt, we found Sarah Mitchell, an angel investor who'd built her fortune in early Bitcoin investments. "You remind me of myself 10 years ago," she said. "I'll invest $500,000 for 20% equity." With the investment, we built a team. We hired 3 developers, a UX designer, and 2 salespeople. The office was a converted warehouse space in East Cambridge, but it was ours. I put a sign on the door. ChainPay Technologies. I took a photo and for the first time in 2 years, posted on LinkedIn. My mother saw it. She called the same day. "Madison, sweetheart, let's talk. You've proved your point. Come home. I'm not welcome in your house, remember? Your words." I hung up. There was no going back. The platform grew exponentially. In 6 months, we had 5,000 businesses. In a year, 20,000, including businesses from Canada and Europe. Major payment processors started showing interest. We received an acquisition offer from a Fortune 500 company, $30 million. We declined. We knew we were worth more. It was at a family gathering, my grandmother's 90th birthday on Cape Cod, that fate showed its sense of humor. I hadn't attended family events in 3 years, but Grandma was the only one who'd kept in touch, calling me secretly to check if I was okay. For her, I went. I arrived in my new Tesla Model S, which I'd bought outright. I wore a simple but elegant navy dress from Saks, nothing extravagant, but clearly quality. When I walked into my grandmother's house in Chatham, the conversation stopped. Brad approached first, the same cousin who'd laughed. He looked different, thinner, dark circles under his eyes, the Patagonia vest replaced by a simple sweater. "Madison, you look, well, I'm fantastic, Brad. And you?" He looked away. "Still at Goldman, but the layoffs have been brutal. I survived the cut, but the stress is killing me, working 100-hour weeks just to keep my job." Tyler appeared next. The cheap suit was gone, replaced by jeans and a polo shirt. "Madison, Jesus, it's been ages. You look amazing." The change in treatment was stark. Where was the laughter? Where were the jokes? During dinner, my grandmother, with her 90 years of wisdom, made sure to put me center stage. "Madison, tell everyone about your company. I saw you in the Wall Street Journal. My granddaughter, in the Wall Street Journal." I tried to be modest, but Grandma wouldn't have it. I told them about the company, the 300 employees, the expansion internationally. I watched the faces around the table changing. Surprise, envy, regret. My mother tried to make conversation several times, but I kept my responses brief and polite. My father couldn't even look me in the eye. After dinner, Brad pulled me aside. "Madison, I need to apologize for what I said that day. I was a complete asshole." "Yes, you were," I agreed. "I know it's a huge ask, but are you hiring? I could do anything. Customer success, operations, anything." The irony was palpable. The Goldman Sachs analyst begging for a job from the cousin who was kicked out for choosing crypto. "Send me your resume. I'll consider it like any other applicant." Tyler came next with the same request. I discovered he'd been let go from McKinsey after 18 months and had been unemployed for nearly a year. 2 weeks later, both appeared for interviews at my company. I didn't tell anyone on the hiring team they were my cousins. I wanted them evaluated on merit. Brad was offered a position in customer support. Starting salary, $65,000. Tyler, in operations, same salary. Not bad positions, but certainly not what they'd imagined for their lives when they laughed at me outside that gate. On their first day, I called them both to my office. From the 20th floor, the view of Boston Harbor was spectacular. They entered nervously, looking around in awe. "Let me be clear about a few things," I began. "You're here on your own merit. You passed the interview process like anyone else, but don't think our family history gives you any privileges. If anything, I expect more from you." Brad swallowed hard. "Madison, we know we don't deserve this. After what we did." "What you did motivated me," I interrupted. "Every laugh from you became fuel for me to work harder. So in a way, I should thank you." Tyler had tears in his eyes. "We were complete dicks. You didn't have to give us this chance." "No, I didn't. But Grandma always said family is family, even when they screw up. You screwed up, I overcame it. Now it's water under the bridge. Do your job well and grow in the company, or don't. It's entirely up to you." 8 months passed. Brad excelled in customer support, his finance background helping him understand enterprise clients' needs. He was promoted to team lead. Tyler discovered an aptitude for data analysis, took courses on his own time, and moved to the business intelligence team. At the company holiday party, I watched them interacting with other employees. No more arrogance, no more cruel laughter. There was humility, hard work, recognition that the world owed them nothing. My mother called around that time. "Madison, thank you for giving the boys a chance. I didn't do it for you, Mom. I did it for them and for Grandma. I know. I was wrong about you. So very wrong." "Yes, you were. Can you forgive me someday?" I thought for a moment. Maybe. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean going back to how things were. I understand. The company continued growing. We received a $150 million investment from Andreessen Horowitz. We expanded globally. I was featured on the cover of Fortune, spoke at Consensus, became a reference point in the American crypto ecosystem. At one of these events, I ran into Mr. Chen, the instructor who'd encouraged me at the beginning. "I knew you'd go far, Madison. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself. You know what your greatest quality is? It wasn't your technical ability or business acumen. It was transforming pain into fuel. Most people would be consumed by bitterness. You used it to build. He was right. The pain of rejection, humiliation, abandonment could have destroyed me. I met many people on the streets, in hardship, who lost their way. But something in me, perhaps stubbornness, perhaps anger, perhaps just the need to prove them wrong, kept me moving forward. Today, at 32, I run a company valued at $1.2 billion. I live in a penthouse in the Seaport District with views of Boston Harbor. I fly around the world closing deals. But more important than all of that, I sleep soundly, knowing I built every brick of my empire with my own hands. Brad and Tyler are still with the company. They're good employees, dedicated, humble. Sometimes we have lunch together and they share family news. My parents have aged. My father's health isn't great. I think about visiting them, but I'm not ready yet. Maybe I never will be. Ashley, the friend who took me in when I had nothing, is now my chief marketing officer. When I offered her the position, she cried, "Madison, I only gave you a couch. You gave me dignity when I had nothing. That's priceless." The nonprofit where I did the coding bootcamp now receives monthly donations from the company. We created a specific internship program for their graduates. I want others to have the chance I had. Tony, my first client, now owns a chain of 12 pizza restaurants across New England. The system that started on my refurbished ThinkPad now processes millions of transactions monthly. He still calls sometimes just to thank me. "You changed my life, Madison. You changed mine too, Tony. You believed in me when I was nobody." Sometimes, late at night, when the office is empty and only the lights of Boston twinkle below, I think about that rainy October evening. I think about the 24-year-old girl with a stuffed duffel bag, $247 in the bank, and a broken heart. I wish I could hug her and tell her it would all work out, that the pain would pass, that she'd achieve more than she ever dreamed. But she didn't need to know that then. She needed to live through every day of struggle, every rejection, every small victory, because that's what transformed her into who I am today. The most ironic part of this whole story? Tyler told me recently that my father keeps a folder of every article about me. Has it hidden in his home office? My mother cries when she sees my interviews on CNBC. They're proud now, proud of the daughter they kicked out. It's too late for that pride to mean anything to me. But it's not too late for me to keep moving forward, building, growing, proving every day that kicking me out was the greatest favor they could have done. Last week, in a meeting with Silicon Valley VCs, one of them asked me the secret to my success. I was kicked out at 24 for choosing my own path. I had no choice but to make it work. He laughed, thinking I was joking. I wasn't. This morning, Brad came to my office. He was nervous, sweating. "Madison, I need to tell you something. The day you were kicked out, Tyler and we knew it was going to happen. Your mom had told us beforehand. We came specifically to watch. I already knew. I'd always known. The premeditated cruelty made it worse, but it also explained a lot. And why are you telling me this now? Because I need you to know how much I regret it. Not just the laughter, but going there for that purpose. It was sick. We were sick. Yes, you were. Working for you. Seeing your generosity after everything. It's changed me. Changed Tyler, too. We want to be better people. Then be better. Not for me. For yourselves." He left the office with tears in his eyes. I returned to work. I had a company to run. Employees who depended on me. Even bigger dreams to achieve. That evening, I drove to the street where I grew up. I parked outside my parents' house. The lights were on. Through the window, I could see my mother in the kitchen, my father in the living room watching the news. An ordinary life, normal, exactly how they'd always wanted it. I thought about ringing the doorbell, thought about going in and saying everything was fine. But it wasn't. Maybe one day it will be, maybe not. I started the car and drove away. I had a dinner meeting with Japanese partners. The company was about to receive a $300 million investment. Life moved forward. As I drove, my phone rang. It was Grandma. "My dear girl, I'm so proud of you." "Thank you, Grandma." "You know, your mother and father are too. They just don't know how to say it." "I know, Grandma." "Will you forgive them one day?" "I already have, Grandma." Forgiveness doesn't mean going back. It just means not carrying the weight. You've become wise, my girl. I've become strong, Grandma. Wisdom came as a bonus. I hung up and smiled. For the first time in years, A genuine smile, without bitterness, without irony. I'd won, not just professionally, but personally. I'd transformed abandonment into ambition, humiliation into motivation, laughter into fuel. My cousins who laughed when I was kicked out now work for me, not for revenge, but for transcendence. Because in the end, the best revenge is living well. It's building something so significant that even those who doubted you want to be part of it. Tomorrow I have a board meeting. We're discussing going public. IPO planned for next year. Estimated value, $3 billion. Not bad for someone who started with $1,247 in the bank and a stuffed duffel bag. Not bad for someone they laughed at. Today, the laughter is mine. Not from cruelty, but from fulfillment. From knowing every tear was worth it. From understanding that sometimes we need to lose everything to discover what we're truly capable of. My name is Madison. I'm 32 years old. I was kicked out at 24, and I built an empire. This is my story, and it's only just beginning.